Hello, welcome back to episode 13 of Book Nook Brews and the first episode for this month's book. But hello, we're back. We had a nice little week off. Your girl started a new job and was trying to get acclimated, and now here we are. It's May. It's time for a new book, which I'm so stoked for. But yeah. How you been? As if I don't live with you. How you been?
Tired. I don't know why. I'm dealing with a sinus thing going on right now, so that blows. But
Which is so strange. I feel like you've never had that. But
I've never had it before, no. But
you're just a strange little man.
I looked up like causes and stuff, but there's really nothing that could have. Like they say allergies too, but I've never been one to
be that bad with allergies.
React. I sneeze with pollen, but so that's pretty much it. But yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I didn't really read throughout this time that we had off. Again, I started a new job, and then last week we had like a nice little, like a little mini vacation per se, just doing the things of being adults. And now here we are back again. I will say we don't have anything for brews today. We haven't even had coffee.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, we're in the middle of the day right now, so it's like
it's a weird time.
Yeah. It's like I'm a little too lazy right now to make myself some coffee, but it's also way too early to have like a beer, so pretend we do have something, and if I did have something with me right now, I think it'd be a Blue Moon. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But this month we are reading Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. And would you do the incredible honors of reading the blurb, please?
Yeah. So, history is told by the conquerors. Across the Western world, museums display the spoils of war, of conquest, of colonialism. Colonialism? Yeah, okay. Priceless pieces of art looted from other countries, kept even now. Will Chen plans to steal them back. A senior at Harvard, Will fits comfortably in his carefully curated roles. A perfect student, an art history major, and sometimes artist. The eldest son who has always been his parents' American dream. But when a mysterious Chinese benefactor reaches out with an impossible and illegal job offer, Will finds himself the leader of a heist to steal back 5 priceless Chinese sculptures looted from Beijing centuries ago. His crew is every heist archetype one can imagine, or at least the closest he can get. A con artist, Irene Chen, a public policy major at Duke, who can talk her way out of anything. A thief, Daniel Liang, a pre-med with steady hands, just as capable of lockpicking as suturing, suturing,
Yeah.
A getaway driver, Lily Wu, an engineering major who races cars in her free time. A hacker, Alex Huang, an MIT dropout turned Silicon Valley software engineer. If they succeed, they earn $50 million and a chance to make history. But if they fail, it will mean not just the loss of everything they've dreamed for themselves, but yet another thwarted attempt to take back what colonialism has stolen. Yeah. And I guess I could read the little part about the author. So Grace D. Lee grew up in Pearland, Texas, or Pearland. It's spelled like the fruit pear.
Pearland?
So Pearland.
Yeah, I think Pearland.
Pearland, Texas, and is a graduate of Duke University, where she studied biology and creative writing. She currently attends medical school at Stanford University. Portrait of a Thief is her debut novel.
Dude, wow. She's in medical school right now and she wrote
Yeah.
this book. Dude, what am I doing with my life? Oh my gosh. I I've said this in the other episodes before. I was told about that book from R.F. Kwong, like not directly from her, but like I saw her recommend it, and immediately I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy this book. And it just sounds like such an interesting story, but I don't think I knew that about Grace D. Lee.
It's an inspired by a true story. It's Ocean's 11 meets The Farewell and Portrait of a Thief, a lush lyrical heist novel inspired by the true story of Chinese art vanishing from Western museums.
Dude, we're gonna have to look. Well, oh yeah, we're gonna have to look that up and see like what story this is exactly from. But Ocean's 11. Let me just make sure because I think I don't. You
I
haven't
think
seen of any of those movies, right?
No, I think the recent one was remade. No,
Ocean's 11. I'm trying to see is this. So yeah, there are two. There's one that was made in 2001, dude. Wow. And then the remake one, if I remember correctly, I think that's, oh yeah, Margot Robbie. Interesting. Well, yeah. I've seen one Ocean's 11 kind of movie. It was one with, oh god, the actress from Harry Potter, Bellatrix Lestrange. I don't know her actual like actress name, but she is in one of those as well with Rihanna and a couple of other actresses. But it's essentially just a woman-led heist, and they're just it's such a good movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was badass, but that movie has stuck with me, and I think immediately I kind of like put those together. I'm like, ooh, so. Yeah, but you know what? Let me go ahead and just start with the recap before we get into it. So that way we can actually start to talk about it. So one thing about this book, just as a heads up, or if you're reading it as well, you know, every chapter is a different point of view. So this first chapter,
oh well, we I don't think we mentioned it, but we're covering chapters 1 through 15.
yes, we're covering chapters 1 through 15, and every chapter, as I said, changes point of views. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one, and we are starting off with Will. So Will is being interrogated by the cops because he witnessed a group of thieves who stole from the museum. Will states he didn't see anything out of the ordinary and that everything happened very fast. However, what he didn't tell them was that he took advantage of the heist to steal a jade tiger worth thousands of dollars, and the thieves saw that. And they gave him a business card with the words China Polly on it, and below it read nice lift in Chinese. Chapter 2, Alex points of view. Alex is an MIT dropout who received a full-time offer from Google in her third year, telling her that whenever she's ready, they're there. The offer had a sign-off bonus that was pretty much more than what her parents made in an entire year. And so within a month, she left to go work at Google. So she's at home on her laptop when she receives a call from Will. He asks her how long it takes her to hack into the museum security system, and she does it within minutes. She pulls up the footage, and there's Will watching the thieves steal, grabbing the jade tiger, and then getting the business card from the thieves. Will asks her if she'll join, and without a thought, she deletes the camera footage and tells him that she's in. Chapter 3. This is back to Will's point of view. Will makes 3 phone calls that night. One to the number on the back of that card that was an empty dial, yet moments later he received a text with a link to an Air China reservation under his name with 5 first-class tickets. The second one was to Irene Chen. his sister, to tell her everything. She looked up China Polly and then asked him if he was sure he knew what he got himself into. The third call was to Alex. He always knew that she would say yes. They both essentially want more from the world, and they're both turning 22. They're getting to a point where they just want something more. When Will told Irene that he was sure, she told him that there's a driver at Duke he should meet. Chapter 4, we're now in Lily's point of view. Lily enters a race with an Audi R8 and wins. As she goes to the car she just beat and won, Will stands by the car and he congratulates her. They had met once at orientation her freshman year at Duke. He was a sophomore at Harvard and was helping Irene move in. Lily asks him exactly what is he doing here, and Will tells her that he didn't really come to Duke to see his sister. He came there for her. Chapter 5, Daniel's point of view. Irene called Daniel and asked him to go to Beijing and meet her there. For him, he could never say no to Beijing, nor to Irene either. Daniel makes it to the penthouse and is greeted by a woman called Wang Yuling from China Polly. She guides him to the room where Will, Irene, Alex, and Lily are all in. Yuling tells them that there are 5 zodiac heads that are missing. There are scattered throughout the Western world, and she needs them to steal them and bring them back to China, where they belong. Daniel walks out. Will runs after him immediately and shows him the jade tiger. At first, Will didn't want to ask him, but Irene thought he would say yes. So they brought him in blind. Will asks him to stay until Sunday when the planes fly back. He doesn't think he can do this without him. And so Daniel gives him the jade tiger back and tells him that while he can't make any promises, he'll stay for now. Chapter 6. This is now in Alex's point of view. Yuling's words echoed in her head. I want you to take back what the West stole. Yuling promised them $50 million if they stole all five sculptures and brought them back. Once she left, they all began to introduce themselves. Here's what we learned. And this is sort of covered in the blurb, but just to kind of recap. So Daniel is a senior at UCLA and is applying for the medical school in the fall. And his father works for the FBI Art and Crime Department. Lily is a mechanical engineer at Duke who also street races. Then Irene looks at Alice and asks her what she is. And she says she's a software engineer. Irene says, so not a hacker? And she responds with no. And this is kind of the beginning of where you see some tension between these two characters. And so they all start to make a pros and cons list. And even though the cons pretty much outweigh the pros, they all at first agree that they're all in. Chapter 7, Irene. Irene walks into Daniel's room and tells him to get up. That way they can grab something to eat. The man really can't say no and eventually just ends up guiding them to a restaurant that he's been to before. They talk for a bit about the heist, and we also learn that Daniel and Irene have a bit of a past as well. Once they're back, Irene asks Will why he wants to do this, and he just responds with, why don't you? Later, they all go out as a group to the Poly Art Museum. They are about to close, but Irene finesses the guard into letting them in before they close. Chapter 8, Will. Once they're in, the lights turn off, and Will welcomes them into their first quote-unquote heist. Yuling knows they're there, but it's essentially a test of sorts. She really just kind of wants to see who they all are, essentially. They're all there talking about the stakes they all have to lose, but in the end, they all agree that they're in and are going to do everything that it takes to make it happen. Alex asks Irene not Alex. Will asks Irene what's wrong with wanting everything. And she responds with, Nothing, as long as you know how to get it. Chapter 9. And this is in Irene's point of view. At the airport, Irene asks Alex to tell her about herself and how she knew Will. When she said that they dated briefly and what she studied at MIT, Irene started to doubt Alex. When Alex asked her why she's here, Irene responded with, "Because the crew needs me, but I'm not sure we need you." And eventually tells her that she hopes that Alex can prove herself because right now she doesn't really think Alex belongs with the rest of them. Once Irene is back at Duke, Lily and Irene talk about the heist again and how this could all turn out, but only time will tell. Chapter 11, Lily. So the team starts to have meetings over Zoom and essentially have homework to do. They all start reading and reviewing different heist books and movies. They're all just studying different ways of what they need to do for this heist. Chapter 11, Will. Although Will has never been a thief, he was always an excellent student. He knows how to study and what to look for. In their meeting, Will assigns everyone their task. Alex is on museum security duty, so she essentially has to make sure she can figure out a way for them to get in and out safely. Daniel will grab the Zodiac heads. Lily will plan the escape route, and Irene will make a plan for when the authorities start to investigate. Chapter 12, Alex. At their next meeting, when Will asked about what they all know so far, Irene mentions how the guards rotate at certain times. And Alex was a bit put off by this since that was her job. But later on, after the call, she calls Irene immediately and thanks her. However, Irene responds with, "Next time, don't need my help." And this again goes back to the tension that both Irene and Alex have. But this kind of pushes Alex to do more. And so after the call, she starts to code. Chapter 13, Daniel. Daniel tells the team that it won't matter how they go in because they're going to mess up somewhere. What they need to figure out is how to get out. They're essentially their escape route. Chapter 14, Will. Irene agrees with Daniel and says it's good for them to go in seen because if they can't get in unseen, then why bother? Alex pipes in and says that she'll figure out how to distract the Swedish police. Irene tries to ask why not someone else, but essentially it just stays with this being Alex's responsibility. Chapter 15. Daniel has a strained relationship with his dad, especially after his mother died, but they're slowly figuring things out. The next day, it's his interview for med school. One of the questions is about a time he worked with a team, and he uses his current heist team as an example, but in another context, not insinuating a heist. And then after the interview asks him, well, did it work? He responds with, he doesn't really know yet, but he hopes for the best. And so the interview ends, and they say that it was a privilege to meet him. And that's how the chapters end. Senor, what are your thoughts?
I like it so far.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that it's a different point of view in every single chapter. It puts the situation, like the same situation all at once, but you see it from everybody, and it doesn't feel like you're jumping around. Like, I think it does it well.
Yeah, I was nervous. I was really nervous that this book had like so many different points of views, because one, that makes the chapters a lot shorter, which is fine, but switching from different points of views, this being 5, I was kind of nervous.
I feel like I prefer it being like that, like different chapters for the different points of views, rather than I think it was in the Fourth Wing where they changed the point of view, but like they separated it, like, or was that in the other one?
That was in Sanctuary of the Shadows, because this is also in third person. Sanctuary of the Shadow did it to where, you know, you start
Yeah,
off
that's
thinking
right.
you're in, I forgot her,
The main characters.
the main characters, like the protagonist, the woman, the woman character, and then it switches over to the male character.
But it was just space, right?
Yeah,
Like
it was
you
a
don't need
space.
it
This
was,
one does it by chapters.
yeah, and that's why I was saying, I think I prefer it that way, since it is 5 people. Like the chapters are changing, but it gives it like enough of a switch, I guess. Like you don't have to go back and you're like, wait, did the point of view change real quick or something? Like it doesn't confuse you. So it splitting off into chapters, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, I was nervous at first, but I do like it. It's just different, especially with it being 5 characters. But I do like that we get to kind of see the perspective of everyone and kind of understand their thoughts.
Yeah.
Rather than this just being, you know, all in one person's point of view or switching, you know, when you don't really know who's talking right now.
Right.
Especially like you said, it's 5 people. It's a lot to keep up
It's
with.
5 for now too. Who knows?
You think there might be more?
Maybe not for the crew. I don't know, but more characters, yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts with Alex? Because Irene seems to be iffy about Alex and doesn't really seem to trust her or think that she can do much. What are your thoughts?
At this point, I don't really have any. It's like, if anything, I have an opinion on Irene and how she should shut the hell up. It's like everybody is there for a reason. Like I don't like that ever. Like even in movies where they make crews or whatever, like groups like that, and someone immediately is like, "Why are you here?" It's like, well, they were asked for a reason. Even if you don't see it, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes or whatever. It's like she's literally going to be planning. Well, she's the hacker, no, right?
Yeah, the
So
quote unquote hacker.
the in and out. She's basically putting you in and getting you out. So shut the hell up and just do what you're supposed to do. But I don't really have any opinions on anybody yet. I don't have like any sus vibes, or I don't have a, like, oh, you're cool type of thing. I think my favorite one right now is Lily, just because of the street race.
I knew it. I knew it.
But other than that, I don't really have a set opinion on anyone yet.
No. So I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit sketched out by Daniel. I feel like he's trustworthy, but I do feel like he has some sort of conflict since his dad is part of the FBI art and crime department or team.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so he's the only one who has like the biggest hesitation, because Alex from the get-go just says that she's in. Lily also just kind of is in it. Irene, because she's Will's sister. But Daniel, like, he's a friend and has history with Irene, but at the same time, like, he probably seemed the most hesitant out of all. But I also feel like
think it's because of his plans for the future. Like he's the one that, like, he's the one that still wants to go to med school. No. And so he's thinking of that ahead. He's like, if we fail, that's out of the window. And so I don't think it because I think he also made a joke. He's like, yeah, I'm like, I guess my father's pride, right? Because he's FBI for the art theft department, and he's over here becoming
he's like,
art
I guess
thief.
I'm a
So
bad
it's like,
son.
Yeah. So he's aware that he's going against what his dad does, but it doesn't seem like he really cares. I think the hesitation is if we get caught, my future's over.
Everyone has something to lose. I feel like Will is probably the one who, he's a history major. He's on his senior year. He's going to graduate. Job applications doesn't seem to be going so well for him so far from what we have learned.
Yeah.
Because his sister asked and he kind of just changes the
Brushed it off,
subject.
yeah.
And so I feel like he probably has the least to lose compared to everyone else. Because Alex has a full-time job at Google. Granted, she feels like she's stuck doing the same thing over and over, but she has that. Daniel wants to get into pre-med. Irene already has like a job lined up. Lily is a mechanical engineer, and he's just still. I feel like he wants to do this because he feels like he's stuck.
And it also, I think it motivates him, the fact that he knows so much about the art. He's like, I know the story behind this, but I can't really do anything with it. Now is where I'm getting to shine, like getting to use what I've learned. Like this is basically the job he's been looking for.
Yeah.
Putting his what quote unquote qualifications to use.
I mean, and it really is. I wonder how China Polly knows so much about him, or at least like knew his name from just like giving him like the business card, and it even said "nice lift."
What do you mean his name?
Remember he called them?
Yeah.
And it was just an empty dial.
Oh well,
but they sent him a
assuming
text immediately with his name and everything.
I'm assuming like the fact that they knew the place they were stealing from. They
know all the employees.
They know, yeah, they know, just like they're doing now, investigating everything, the ins and outs of the security guards and stuff like that. They knew everybody there. They breached data. That is, but so whenever they saw, or when they gave him the card, they were like, hey, we know you from the research or whatever. And then I'm sure after they left and stole everything, they researched him a little more. And they were like, yeah, he's going to call. And yeah.
My thing is, why trust this, like, Will and his team to do a heist if they've never done anything like that? They're so new. Oh.
Because then if they just grab randoms who they, or at least, you know, get that one guy who actually did pretty well stealing the tiger, right? They were like, hey, that guy did pretty well. Let's get him the card and let him make his team. But what they also want to do is not grab anyone that's like attention worthy so that it won't get blamed on China. So like if this goes wrong or whatever, so the operation doesn't get blamed on the country itself. So they're grabbing these randoms from America where it looks like it's an American theft and not a Chinese one. So that's why they're like grabbing just these random people.
Okay.
Like they didn't grab the other four. They grabbed Will, but they trusted Will enough to the point where they're like,
which
make
I'm curious as to why. And
because of how he stole the tiger. They trusted him enough to were like, hey, you're kind of like us.
Here you go.
So here and make your team.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious to see, because I'm assuming the next set of chapters are going to talk more about the heist, because these chapters that we read were just very much an introduction.
And it was 3 weeks worth, though. That's the thing. They have 2 weeks left until the heist.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure we're going to get to the heist next week, or like the next set of chapters.
At least halfway into the next chapters is probably when that's going to start.
You think
so? Because
I
think half of it is going to be the last 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to do a time jump like that.
I mean, we're getting 5 heists in here. At least we hope so, because they have to steal 5 Zodiac sculptures, unless
but
some of them are
together.
together.
Same museum, no?
No, they're all in different ones.
Oh, really?
They're all scattered throughout the Western world.
Oh, I thought the last 5 were in Sweden. Oh, okay.
I know they're 5, and and she said that they're scattered throughout the Western world, meaning they're not all in the same like museum. Maybe there are some that are together, so maybe there's a heist where they'll like get 2 in 1. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think this one is just 1. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how their first heist is gonna go, and I'm also find it interesting how they said that it's important to go in seen. They want to be seen. It's important, but like the important part about their heist is their way out.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense, because when I saw the Ocean's 11 movie, they were seen throughout the whole operation. They were in different roles. One of them was a little bit more prominent and I guess the least obscure of them all, but they were literally in plain sight.
I wonder
So
why that's so important. Like to be seen. Well, it's not to be seen doing it. It's to be seen just going in.
like being in the area, which is
Yeah.
crazy because you'd think that you'd immediately be a person of interest, right?
Yeah.
I thought
don't-
you might have known a little bit more. I don't know.
For that, no, that part, I was also questioning. I was like, why is it important to be seen going in? I don't know.
Yeah, because Irene said if we can't go in unseen, why bother?
Yeah.
I'm like, but why?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out why. If not, I'll look into it, see why that's a thing. Dang, I had a thing, but I've lost it.
Here, I'll start with something else, and I don't know. Hopefully, you get your memory jogged back up or not. So there are little hints of romance per se, or relationships that have been in the past. Like Daniel and Irene, they have some sort of history together. Which I feel like theirs is probably one that kind of like happened or not, whatever. I just find it strange how Irene doesn't like Alex and kind of she almost like puts up a prejudice about her because so Alex met Will on Tinder. They went out on 2 dates and she immediately knew that it just wasn't going to work out. They kind of just have busy lifestyles and weren't really ready to do something like, commit. And so it worked out because they were both on the same page. And even though they both went on their separate ways, they still keep in touch with one another, having like video calls every now and then when he has insomnia and she's just up working late. So
Yeah.
like I don't feel like there's anything between them. I feel like they're all just grown up at a certain point, but I feel like Irene just doesn't see that. She like judges Alex way too harshly, in my opinion.
I think it also has to do with Will. I think she said it in there. She's like, Will doesn't know how to be happy with someone else or something like that. There was a line in there, something around that. So I think she just is concerned about the people that Will gets with, I guess. So she's kind of has that little like, yeah, the sister or the sibling type of, hey, don't mess with my sibling type of thing. But she's taking it a little too far, I think.
Yeah, because I just don't see how Alex would be some sort of threat. Although, with her not technically being like a full quote unquote hacker, like I can understand why you're hesitant about her with her being a hacker, but she also judged her because she left MIT to go work at Google.
When I think that's probably better.
Yeah, no. She says like, oh, I know so many people who left like such a prestigious school or whatnot to go to Silicon Valley and work for these big tech companies, but it's like you don't know Alex's situation. Like she took up that job because it's the sign up bonus was more than what her parents earned in a year. She could help them out because I believe they own like a restaurant. She's putting money towards her grandma's medical bills. So it's like, what did you want her to? So it's like, what do you want her to do? So I just thought that was like, I don't know. I don't understand the animosity
Yeah.
like there. And then we get like this little cutish moment between Will and Lily, which I just hope for your sake nothing happens.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't get the feeling that Will, like from what we've learned so far, Will is just not the kind of person who seems like he want to be tied down to anyone.
Yeah.
He just is out here doing reckless things for what he wants to do, like his end goal per se. So, for your sake, I hope there's no romance. Plus, I just don't seem like it fits here
Yeah,
that much.
no, like just like let there be like a conflict, I guess, like because I think that's what's gonna be a big part here, like especially that's what I was gonna say. Wow, it tied in. Like I think in this first heist, something's gonna go wrong, but not to the point where they get caught. It's just something's gonna go on, like or go wrong with the trust that they have in each other. That's gonna get fixed for the other ones. It's gonna get improved in every single one, and the last heist is gonna be like the big one. But I think that since this is the first one and they're all inexperienced, whatever, it's gonna go well. But these tensions and stuff like that is gonna get to them.
I think something between Alex and Irene is going to go down within the first one.
Something's gonna go wrong with one of their things, and I'm assuming it's gonna go wrong with Alex's side of things.
Yeah.
And Irene is gonna be like, "See, this is exactly why you shouldn't be here. We almost got caught. Whatever, blah blah blah." But then it's gonna get like fixed. I don't know, whatever. But
I think so too. No, I see that. Because there's no way the first one is gonna go on without a hitch. Like I feel like it's gonna go well to the point where they don't get caught. But I do feel like they're gonna make some mistakes along the road, and something is gonna go back to create a bigger conflict after that first heist.
yeah,
And I feel like that's gonna be so good. So I guess our theory is right now, Alex and Irene are gonna have the first big tension. And I feel like Will is probably just going to be there to kind of defuse the situation. Now, I'm curious as to like what if Daniel or Lily are going to bring any sort of conflict. I feel like they won't for the most part. I feel like Lily's probably going to be one of the most unproblematic characters.
yeah. She's literally just there waiting for them to get back in the car.
Yeah, she's just here for the vibes and probably just a ride.
Daniel, I think, could bring a situation up in the future. Is like him wanting to back out, like already deep into it, and everybody's gonna be like, "You're already in it." He's
I
gonna
feel
get
like he's
scared after a couple.
I was going to say, I think it might tie back with his dad because you know how their relationship is strained.
Yeah.
I think maybe throughout his whole process of getting into med school, he might start to kind of rebuild his relationship with his father because he kind of had that moment in chapter 15 where, and I didn't mention this in the recap, but he had a moment with his dad to where he's like, I'll drive you to your interview. This is exciting. And he asked her, "Oh, what are you working on?" Daniel asked his dad, "Oh, what are you working on?" He's like, "Oh, you want to see?" So I feel
And he
like
wasn't one to ever show what he was working on, so he's opening up.
And so I feel like they might build back up their relationship, and that might put Daniel in a tough spot to where he's doing something that he knows and like it's kind of like a conflict against, like, because his dad is an FBI art and crime department.
What if his dad starts working on the case of them, and that's what's like gonna push him off? He's like, "Yo, that's my dad. I'm not gonna get caught by my dad." Whatever. And then
Because although there is a moment where he says, he's like, "I don't know if because my dad works in the FBI art and crime that it makes me want to do it more."
yeah, I
Because
mean,
he does mention that.
but that could also be how he feels at that moment. But then once he hears that he's like the chief, like the main guy investigating that, he's gonna be like, "All right, dude, now we gotta back off because I cannot deal." Like, he's already kind of iffy on it, but he's like, "I'll do it, whatever." Once he hears that it's like he's already worrying about getting caught. Once he hears it's a little more riskier to get caught now because it has to do with his dad or whatever, he's gonna want to back out, and that's gonna create problems because now you have one person less, and they're not gonna want to let him leave.
Dude, I feel like that's a good conflict to add to the story.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious as to how that's going to go because that's going to be brought up back into the story. And it'd be even more intense if if his father ends up being like the main investigator for this. And he starts talking about it with his son, who knows, maybe. Because I mean, that's how I'm assuming so. Because that's how Daniel knows so much about it.
Yeah.
His dad must talk about work, and so he's gonna learn from that. But he's also gonna feel guilty about it.
Right.
Oof, oof. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I feel like these first few chapters were a little bit slow.
But I thought it was fine. Like it was
Yeah.
slow, but in a good way.
It's
Like
it's the introduction.
yeah.
Because keep in mind, this book has 69 chapters. So it
Nice.
makes sense, huh?
Nice.
So it makes sense as to why these first 15 chapters are just the introduction.
Yeah.
Because next week we'll be reading 16 through 33. And that'll already put us almost at the halfway mark.
Yeah.
So we're getting to learn like more of the heist. So I guess here are our theories. One, Alex and Irene are going to have conflict with one another after the first heist. Something's going to go off. And then two, a second theory we have is later down the line, the second or another big conflict will be Daniel wanting to back out,
Yeah.
especially because of his dad.
Right.
And I think those are the main things. I'd love to know a little bit more. Like right now, Will kind of seems like he is. He's kind of like the main character of sorts, but he seems very detached.
Distant.
Yes, very distant, very detached. We don't really know much about him.
Yeah.
We can't really see inside his head, which is crazy because that's not usually the case with main characters.
But I feel like I think that's for a reason, because he's also like, I'm here to do this, get my money, and get out. Like I feel
think
like it adds to that.
That I also feel like he just wants to make history in his own way.
Yeah.
I feel like he has done everything the right way. He is his parents' American dream.
Mm.
But I don't think he wants that. Like he said, him and Alex want more from life. And it seems like Will just feels like he's trapped, like forced to do the American dream like path, but he wants more.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is his moment of like, fuck it, we ball. So I hope we get to learn a little bit more about him because he seems like a very intricate character in those sorts, complex.
And I'm sure there's probably going to be a part later, maybe not the next set of chapters, but later, where it gets a little more into him. Like maybe the stress of the heist or getting to him or whatever, and there's a little section where it just gets into his head or whatever. I don't know.
But I like that this heist is essentially stealing back what the West stole.
Yeah.
That is epic.
Yeah.
So overall, first good read.
Yeah.
I like these first few chapters. I'm enjoying it.
Same.
And I'm excited to see what's in store for the rest of the book.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting plot. Like the whole.
I'm so glad you like it.
Yeah. So far, so good. So they better stay there.
It better stay that way, huh?
Yeah.
Alrighty. I guess we'll kind of wrap it up here. So next week we'll be reading chapters 16 through 33.
And I know it sounds like a lot. Like I was scared too, but it's like some of these chapters are like 3 pages.
Literally. I think this last chapter, 15, was like maybe 3 pages.
Yeah.
If all. I know one chapter was like 2 pages.
Yeah.
When Irene told Will about Lily.
Yeah.
And so
that's right.
that was nice. So yeah. 16 through 33 next week, and I think that's it for us today.
And next time we'll have a beer probably.
Yeah.
Doing this. So.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be all. We'll see you guys next week for more book talk, more brews. Have a nice week. Bye-bye.
See ya.